Hello, everybody. I'm Dane Gentry. This is going to be reality part 2. This is going to be the reality of a drug addict, the life of me. I talked about it before. My drug addiction really took off at the age of 17 because of a pill called Dilaudid, K4 Dilaudid. And what I found out is that how many people the addiction started with that, or really took off. I was already an addict, but really took off with this thing here. I don't ever really remember being sick from it. I remember just wanting it really bad. I don't remember the sickness part with it. But we started doing some research around the different things and come up with the idea that I would go get on methadone. Methadone is used to get you off of drugs, um, but it's just another drug, even more powerful one that gets you even higher. So many people have wrecks and all these different things, but it's legal. You can go to the clinic and get it as long as you got the money to pay for it. So I started going to Chattanooga, Tennessee, getting it. There wasn't a clinic, or there was one in Nashville, but they were real strict. So no drug addicts, we want it as easy as we can get it. And so we started going to Chattanooga, and we would drive there and back and it was an hour and a half each way. Um, and throughout this time, of course, you accumulate charges. I did, and I would go to jail, and then I'd make bond. And so you pay a bondsman 10% or whatever it was, and you get out. And then they were responsible to make sure that you went to court. If you did not go to court, and so much time passed, they would have to pay the whole bond off. So I had these warrants on me, and I thought it'd be better, to rent a motel room down in Dalton, Georgia. It was like right across the state line there, and so that's what I started doing. And there was a guy whose girlfriend was going, and he decided he had to have a ride. He was on drugs, junked out or whatever. He needed a ride to Chattanooga. So what's he do? He goes to the bondsman, tells him I'm down there, rides down there with him to get me. This man's name is Mo Hatcher. He's one of the biggest pieces of shits I've ever met in my life. But anyway, um, so one morning, bright and early, because you get it real early, you go real early in the morning to get it, and I go to walk into it, and a handcuff slaps around my left wrist, and it was a woman. It was a woman who owned a bonding company. It was her and her husband and her son were there. And when this happens, people inside see it and start saying something about it. So the main counselor, who was over the place, comes out and tells them, "Take the handcuff off him right now. You go to jail yourself. You're not allowed to be on this property doing that. It's a treatment facility. This, that, and the other." So they took the handcuffs off, and he made them go outside the gate. Um, and the woman was actually friends with my mother and different things. So I really wouldn't want to do it wrong. It's just I didn't want to go to jail because of my drug addiction, all these different things. So they're like, "Well, you can stay right here on the porch if you want to, and there's nothing they can do. You can sleep out here all night." Well, then we come up with it's going to give me methadone, enough methadone for a week. And I would go to jail. The jail would give it to me, and then my mother would get me more and keep bringing it to me, and the nurse would in the jail would give it to me. So I go back to jail, or I go to jail. This is my really the first time I really spent any significant time in there. At this time, I just had some misdemeanor charges and stuff like that. And so I think I ended up with 11.29 cents or something. But as I was about, I don't know, 60 days in it, maybe 45, something like that, the nurse calls me up there and says, "I'm gonna do a 10-day detox on you. That I'm not licensed to give you methadone." And my exact words was, "You don't fucking give it to me no way. My mom brings it here. I give it to myself." It's just an excuse because other people in jail were complaining he didn't get methadone, and all this stuff. And that's how he's grown. Anyway, grown ass men act like little girls, basically. And so this was my real first experience with the detox. And I remember, oh man, it was the worst thing ever because I had the restless leg and restless body, and I couldn't understand it. It was like up in my arms and stuff. And I tried to lay down, and there is no rest. And I'm 18 years old, and so I couldn't imagine someone who's 50 or 60 on it. There's been people who's been on it for a long, long time. They say it gets in your bones and all this different stuff. So when that happened, I started acting like a fool in this jail. And they up front, they had what was called like up in the booking part of the jail, they had what's called Pebble Beach. And what it is, it's just a concrete slab. And it's ice cold. They put me up there with nothing but a pair of boxers on, no mattress, no nothing. And I stayed like this for days. And I should have never been treated that way, but I was. But I finally had enough, man. I finally, got pissed off about it. And so I'd start cussing them all and this, that, and the other. And there was this one man who worked third shift, and his name was Sergeant Murdoch. And he was always going up there and thought it was funny. You know what I mean? And so they had a drain in the middle of the floor. So I took that drain and started working it back and forth. And the top part of it come off. You know, it's just like a little piece of steel round, you know, like over a drain cover, about 6 inches, you know, something like that. And so I started cussing him back, and I was saying things that I knew would cause him to open that door, and I wanted him to, because my thought was I'm going to sling as hard as I can and hit him in the head with it, because I was pissed the way I was being treated and what was going on. And so he goes to open that door, and I sling it, and he barely was able to pull his head back, and it knocked the whole plexiglass glass and everything out of the door. And I'm glad it didn't hit him, because it probably would have killed him. But I talked him into giving me a mattress. And again, it's freezing cold. I mean, I've got nothing but boxers on, no socks on. It's just, I've been freezing like this for days and days. And so they brought the mattress in there, and I tore it open at the top and climbed in it like a sleeping bag. And man, I was good and warm, and it just got there, and I was feeling good. And they come in there taking it away from me because I climbed inside of it. You know, they were just dicks, man. All because I was just going through withdrawal. I was sick. That's the only thing it was. I wasn't doing anything. I was might have been, you know, raising hell a little bit with my voice or whatever, but I wasn't, other than throwing that thing at them or whatever. So I don't remember exactly how long I was up there like that. And then they let me out of that and give me a job working out on the county highway. And so what they would do is they would take X amount of prisoners out. You would either go pick up trash, or you go build some fences, or you would do, you know, who knows what. And so my job, we was building fences, and it was like 10 of us. We'd sit in the back of this truck. We would go to this little co-op, and we'd pull around back and get fence wire or fence posts and all these different things. Well, while we're sitting there, somebody would run around the back of it, and there's a liquor store right there. And they'd go in there and they'd buy a couple of fists of vodka, and we'd all get drunk all day. And then, of course, back in, it's just a lot different. People were dropping pot off and just whatever. And so that's kind of how I spent my next, however long it was. And then I got out of jail, and immediately went straight and got back on methadone the next day. And then this is where the real crime started. I started doing more just theft stuff again, as I talked about before. Um, and so I accumulated a bunch of felonies. Well, uh, I'm on the run again. You know, I had 4 different bonding companies looking for me. All kind of stuff went on, and just I had a bunch of evading. One time they had me, and I was arrested, and the girl I was dating, she had a warrant on her or something too. She wasn't a drug addict. I don't remember what it was, really, what they wanted her for, but they had me too. I'm in handcuffs in the back of the car, and he runs my name, and it comes back negative, no warrants on me. And the cop looked at me, he said, "Me and you both know you have warrants, but it's your lucky day," and he let me go. Well, the next day, um, that girl, she was getting out of jail, and she calls me and she says, "You need to leave. They're coming to get you right now. You need to leave." And so me and someone else got in my car, and we were leaving, and we was on this road. It's called Long Lane in Franklin, and is out by the interstate or whatever. And uh, as we started down there, here come this county police officer, and or sheriff. He's a sheriff, and I saw him. Our eyes met, and he turned around. And I had a little Datsun 280, and it was pretty fast. And I took off. Boom, gone. You know, left him, and then went and parked on the back of this road for, I don't know, about an hour. And the person that's with me got out because they had like a pro violation or something on their warrant. I don't remember what it was. And they got out. And so I leave. I get to a stop sign. I'm going to take a left. I take the left, and there that same cop is again. And I outrun him again. I got away right then. And then later on, they ended up getting me a detective I didn't know. Ended up getting me. So they take me to jail. And so I know I'm stuck now, man. I know that they got me or whatever. And somehow or another, man. Oh, that's right. I remember my mother, they had paid her income tax check twice. And so that money was able to bond me out, get me out of jail. So I got out. While I'm out on bond, I get more charges. And so here I am again. I'm on the run again. And then they were looking for me really, really hard. And so one day they just made it up their mind they was going to get me, and ended up getting the dude who was my friend at the time. And then they got me later on that day. And that's where I did up to this point, I was going to do my longest amount of time. And so I go to court finally, you know, after so long, and they tell me they're going to give me 10 years probation and suspended after, I think, 200 days or something like that. Well, I had already done that time. I'd already done the days. And so that same guard the next morning that I was talking about had that incident with that night, me and him actually come to respect each other, believe it or not. He turned out to be a really good man. I have a lot of respect for him. He's passed away now. But the next morning, I was going through the chow line to get breakfast, and he said he always called me by my first and middle name, Walter Dane. He never would call me Gentry. He never would call me just Dane. And he said, "What did they do to you in court?" And I said, "Oh, I got some probation. You know," I said, "I got so many X amount of days to do." I said, "I need you to go up there and get my probation paperwork because I got to fill it out for probation officer comes." He said, "All right." So I go back to my cell or whatever. And about 2 hours later, I hear him holler my name. So I'm thinking he's got the paperwork. I was trying to go to sleep, and I come out and he said, "Pack your shit. You're going home. You know, um, you only had to do X amount of days. You've already done them." And so I get out, and my mother had moved to Texas at this time, and I spent a couple of days or whatever in Franklin. And the next day, I was going to go and fly out to Texas. Well, while I was in jail that time, for that 10 months right there, I had a guy that brought me some pot in or whatever, and he told on me at the same time. Um, he was supposed to do 90 days on a weekend. He never come back down to the weekend. Anyway, I got caught with it. But they never said anything, man. They never put me in the hole for it. I never heard anything at all. Well, I'm talking to someone on a payphone, and we got me a bus ticket the next day. I'm going to Houston or whatever, and this cop pulls in there, and he says, "I need to see some ID. You look like a runaway in the area." And I said, "I'm 20 years old, man. Who am I running from?" And even though I did look young or whatever, he was just a way for him to mess with me. He runs my name and comes over putting handcuffs on me. "You got a warrant on you?" And I'm like, "Man, I just got out of jail. How have I got a warrant on me?" And so they take me to jail, and it was an indictment for that week. What it actually went on is that the DA thought he would let me take the probation and other charges and then introduce that charge and violate my probation, but he couldn't because that happened before I ever took the probation. It happened back in like January. I took the probation in March or something. And so I ended up getting 90 more days of that. So I do 90 days, and my brother's coming to get me. I'm getting out on a Sunday. My brother's coming to get me and his brother-in-law. And so I can see them. I'm up front in the wholesale waiting on them to do my paperwork, let me out. And I can look out there. I see my brother. I see my little nephew. He's a baby then. And he's like a year or two up, probably two, maybe even three. He may have been something like that. And so the guard up front, he says, "I'm going to run an NCIC check." And what that is, that's like a nationwide criminal check on you, see if there's any charges anywhere in the United States on you. And he said, "You got anything on you? And mean any more charges anywhere?" I said, "No, man, I don't got anything. I ought to be good, He runs it, and Nashville had a hold on me. And I was like, damn. I had gotten a driving on suspended license back a year before, and they gave me 6 months probation. I never went back or whatever. And so now I got to go to Nashville. I'm just thinking, you're just thinking the worst of everything at that time. And thinking, man, I'm just never going to get out. And so I go to the Metro jail, and I stay in there from Sunday to Tuesday. I think Monday was some kind of holiday or something. That's why I didn't go to court on Monday, actually. I don't remember what it was. It was something. And so I finally go to court Tuesday morning, and as I'm going to court, they take me there to see the probation officer, and he says, "Do you remember me?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I don't know how in the hell you do. You only seen me one time." He was, he wasn't liking it, but he said, I said, "Man, I've done 13 months in jail. I've been in jail past 13 months, whatever." So they just said, "All right, they're just going to do away with it." They do away with it. And my brother comes and gets me, and we ride around a little bit, whatever, and they take me to the airport, and I flew to Houston, Texas. Now, doing so was violating my probation. I knew that was going to happen. And so they did. I was actually sober when I flew to Texas. And I got there that night at like 11:35, 11:45, something. And I remember the heat. I remember walking out of the airport, and the heat was just so hot. It was in June or July, I think. July, actually. And so I looked at my mother. I was walking up out of the tarmac or whatever at the airport, and I see my mother. I gave her a hug, and I said, "I'm going to prison." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Well, I just violated this probation." And so I get to Texas, and it's almost like you're not even thinking. Like I wasn't even thinking about the consequences, and I wasn't even thinking about it. Like I would think about it every now and then it would just slip my mind, or I just push it to the back or whatever. And so anyway, the very next day, I started taking pills again, and so here I'm in Texas, and we got all these cowboys stuff out there, and I wasn't a city kid, but I was a country kid, but I wasn't no cowboy. I didn't wear boots, and I didn't wear a cowboy hat or dress, shirts and stuff. So at first glance, I thought I wasn't going to fit in, but really come to find out, a lot of women like me. And so started doing that. But then I met a girl, and she we started dating or whatever, and she got pregnant, and why we decided to have a baby, I'm not sure, but I was on pills, and they say that slows down your sperm count or whatever. She could never get pregnant. So I got off the pills and I started drinking, but I became an alcoholic immediately, and she gets pregnant. And so, I'm working, but I'm drinking all the time, and I become an alcoholic, instantly, what have you. And then I was like, man, oh no, I got hurt at work. I was putting in columns on porches basically, and this 4x4 was supposed to have been screwed to the ceiling. It wasn't. So it fell from right over and hit me right behind my left shoulder blade right there and cracked some of my ribs. And I go to the hospital and they give me pain pills. That's when I quit drinking and I started taking pills. And there was these girls and they were strippers, and I don't remember how I met them. I think I met them through someone else. Like, I wasn't fooling with them, but they sold cocaine and crack and stuff. And so, they would get pills and they would call me, like they would trade their cocaine or whatever for pills, and I would go get them. And it was in December and it's pretty cold. And I go over there and I tell my son's mother, I'm going over there or whatever. And, I'm in there and they've got this pipe packed down with this crack stuff, and they keep saying, "Hit this." And I was like, "Man, I don't want none of that stuff. I don't want none of that stuff." And so finally they're like, "Take a hit of it." So I do, and instantly I jump up and took my clothes off. Only in my boxers is all I had on. No, I think I got all the way naked, because anyway, I'm sitting out on the porch and it's cold out there and I'm just pouring sweat. And I remember thinking, man, I don't know why nobody likes this stuff. And my son's mother come over there, and so she sees me sitting on this porch and I'm naked. What she sees behind me is these two strippers, and they're running around half naked. So if you ask her, probably still to this day, I haven't spoken to her in 20 years, but if you ask her still to this day, she'd probably say I was having sex with them women, but I wasn't. I couldn't have had sex with anybody. That stuff had me so messed up. But so I don't ever know why anybody really liked that stuff. And so, she's pregnant, and then she has him on May the 6th of 1998, and I'm on pills, and so she figured out a way or whatever to call them prescriptions, and she calls it in. And long story short, we go up there to get them, and I'm sitting in the truck with Cody and our son, and she goes in, but I see this Magnolia police officer pull up, and I'm like, oh, that's not good. That old gut's telling you something's not right. And so I go in and I see him sitting there. He's just trying to be all nice. She don't see him. She's not a criminal. You know what I mean? So I'm telling her, no, do not get them. Come on, let's go. Do not grab them pills. And so they know what they're doing. They wait and fill them. And they, as soon as they hand them to her, the police arrest her. I'm like, man. But we had got a Social Security card, and then it was her brother's Social Security card. He was the same age as me, same color hair, same color eyes, but he was in the military. He was in the Air Force, and he was in Louisiana. So I took that information and stuff and went to the DPS department down there and got a driver's license and his name with my picture on it, but it was legit. So I'm thinking, I'm fine. So they're arresting her, and we go down to this little substation, and I go down there, of course, and I got Cody, the baby, and she was breastfeeding at the time, and I'm in there, and she's telling me to leave. She's like, "You need to go, just leave." And I couldn't leave her there. I was like, I can't do it that way. This is all my fault. I'm not going to leave you here like this. I'm going to try to talk you out of this shit, is what I was thinking in my mind. Well, the phone number that we used to call them in was her mother's house. And so they had already been talking to the mother, and the mother's like, "That's not my son. She gets my son's birth certificate and reads off my name. Well, they run my name, and they find out I got this warrants in Tennessee. And so Cassandra goes into the other room to breastfeed or whatever, and I'm sitting there with this cop, and he says, "Yeah, you pretty proud of your son there, huh?" And I said, "Yeah. Yeah, he's about 3 weeks old or whatever," and I was proud, what have you. And that cop said, "Son, we got laws here in Texas." And he said, "I don't know about Tennessee." When he said that, I knew, whatever. He said, "You can't be having sex with your sister," because remember, the driver's license was in her brother's name. And I just knew. He said, "So, you ever been to Tennessee?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, your ass is going." And so they take me to jail. They took her to jail too, and there wasn't nothing I could do, man. I mean, they ended up giving her 2 years probation or whatever it was. And, it's one of them things that you look back, as you got older and you think about these things. And, I'm sure she hates me as she should. And my son doesn't like me too much either because I went away and did all that time. And, it takes time. I went back, they sent me back to Tennessee. In case you don't know how that goes, they put you in a van and you're shackled in handcuffs and you got a chain that runs up. And you may go from Texas all the way across the United States before you make it back because they get paid so much a mile for you. And that's how they cheat the system, basically, as so many companies and so many people do. These, federal contracts, what everybody wants because they know they can beat them out of money. And so I got back and I told her when they arrested me, I was like, look, we're young. Go on with your life. Just keep me informed about him. Send me pictures. I don't know how long I'm going to be gone, but I'm going to be gone a while. And, she immediately, I had probably been in jail 30 days and she immediately broke bad or whatever. But I knew that she was going to do it, and I expected it. And I wasn't mad about that. I didn't care. I didn't want to be with her again, no more than she wanted to be with me. And so I don't think the last few months that we was together, either one of us wanted to be together, but we were together and we were young. You know how it is when you're young. You just think you're in love. And, I didn't love her. I'm not going to lie about it. Thought maybe I did, but I didn't. I've only been in love one time in my life. But anyway, so I go back and I go to prison. And, the moral to all this is that all that stuff I just sit there and said all comes down to me wanting to get high. It's a very, very sad thing. The things that drug addicts do, and people think that drug addicts just have it so easy. Man, I've been through a lot of different situations, and I'd go through all of them 100 times over again just not to be a drug addict, because it's a very sad, just dysfunctional, disgusting way of life. And I thank God every day that I'm sober, and I've been sober for a while. And even after you've been sober for a long time, certain things start happening. Your emotions start coming back, and before you know it, man, you're feeling good. But a lot of people, man, end up with some mental health stuff going on. They're going to depression. They're going to this, have anger, whatever, all bipolar, all kind of stuff. And so if you've gotten sober and you're starting to go through some of that stuff, go get help for it. Go get some mental health. I had to. I went to bed one night and I woke up the next morning and I was not the same man. I instantly became not almost, it was exact to the T, like I was on drugs. Paranoia came. I lost weight. I wouldn't hang around with nobody, wouldn't call nobody. I would get up in the morning and I would leave my house and I'd go sit in a parking lot somewhere all day long and all to the night, to like 10 o'clock. Then I would go home and I'd go in there. Some nights I may sleep, some nights I may not. And finally, I was talked into going to see a psychiatrist or whatever they're called. And I go in there and I'm talking to the lady, and I'm gonna tell you, man, she was amazing. I was very blessed to have this lady as my doctor, and I was wanting to say her name and I can't remember it, so I'm going to get her name out there because I think people ought to see her. But she was just so thorough, and she talked to me. She made me feel like she cared, and that's what I needed at the time because I was paranoid of everything. And they put me on some medicine, and I got better, and I gained a bunch of weight from it, but that was okay because I'd lost a bunch of weight. It wasn't a big of a deal, but I got on the medicine and stayed on it. I thought I was going to have to be on the stuff the rest of my life, and it turned out I didn't have to, and that was awesome. I got off of it, and today I'm okay. But I told them in the beginning, they kept saying, "Was I suicidal?" And I said no. And I said, "You don't want me to be suicidal." There was a couple attempts. I was saved both times by the Metro Police Department. My hats off to them guys. They're awesome. I've never had them treat me anything but fairly, and that's coming from a lifelong criminal at the time, And so they treated me well and helped me. And so for me to say that, that ought to say a lot about them. I'm not saying everyone has that same experience. There have been a lot of things they've done that are wrong. But in my experience, for me, they helped me. They saved my life. And so I continued on with therapy. And therapy helped a lot when I finally started opening up. At first I wouldn't, because in your mind you're going, can I trust this person? Can this and can that? And I learned that I could trust them. And yeah, I talked it out of me. So again, if you're going through something, man, or woman, whoever, please talk about it. Please share it with somebody because there is a better way, and it does get better. It's something we hear in these programs, different things, or when we're coming in them, is that it does get better. And I promise you it does. If you'll just give it a shot, It will get better. Just remember that. Reach out to me at danegentrypodcast@gmail.com. I'll help you in the way I can. We love y'all. I'm going to talk to you next time. God bless.